Call this meeting of the Municipal Council to order at 6:30. Please rise and join me for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We're now operating under suspended rules, so we can have a special presentation from our friend talking about the Walton and Lonsberry Superfund site. So please make your way to the podium.
Hi, good evening.
Evening.
I'm just trying to, do I have to get in tight like this to, no? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
The mics are good.
All right, thank you all for having us here. My name is Rich Fisher. I'm the project manager for the Walton and Lonsberry Superfund site here in Attleboro, Massachusetts. And we're basically, I just wanted, to reach out to the public after a number of years to, before we get to the part where the remediation is going to start, there's there's a lot of public comment period and things like that in where the public is engaged to to let people know what's coming up. But then there's a delay, and then, as things get worked out and designs get done and things like that. So we're at that point where construction is basically starting, and there's going to be a lot of activity going on in that particular neighborhood where North Ave and Walton Street meet. And so I just wanted to make sure that gave a chance to, through the representatives of the public, a chance to know what's going on in case your constituents are asking about it and things like that. So without further ado, we'll just go through my presentation here. So we'll talk about the site and the background of it and progress and upcoming activities that are coming up. What to expect during the cleanup, which I think is the key thing I would like to communicate here. And any questions that you guys might have.
Rich, is it easy for you to take questions as we go along? Or would you
it's whatever you guys, I'm okay. I just as soon you ask them as we go along.
Sure.
Keep it conversational and so forth.
Okay.
So we'll start at the very beginning, the Superfund program. So basically, the Superfund program involves the investigation and cleanup of hazardous waste sites. And one of the aims is to return once contaminated land to reuse after the cleanup. So the Walton and Lonsberry site was a former industrial chromium electroplating facility operating between 1940 and 2007. It was added to the National Priorities List in 2013. What that means is it basically becomes a Superfund site at that point. The primary contaminants are still hexavalent chromium and the solvent trichloroethylene, otherwise known as TCE. That's in the soil, it's in the groundwater, and it's also in the surface water over there. So EPA did previous work over there from 2010 to 2014. The purpose then was to address what we call imminent risk. Risk that's right there that needs to be addressed right then. But they go in, they do their work, they leave, and there's residual risk there, and then that's left to investigate and study, and that comes under what we call the remedial program, which is me. So the removal actions that were completed back then involved the removal of the buildings at 78 North Ave. That involved soil excavation and off-site disposal. A soil cover in what we call a PRB, a permeable reactive barrier, which is basically a trench that's backfilled with a reagent so that when groundwater flows through it, it changes from the toxic hexavalent chromium into harmless trivalent chromium. So, so that's how that works. And these were installed in the back of some residential properties east of North Ave and kind of at the end of Paulette Lane. Does everybody, would it help for me to go over there and orient people, or can you kind of tell where I'm talking about over here, or you all good? Okay. So and then there was also excavation and off-site disposal of lead-contaminated soil from residential properties south of the former facility, extending all the way down to Deanville Road, basically. So following that removal action, there was EPA to address the residual risk. We developed the final cleanup plan to address that residual risk. That was presented in 2019, to address the remaining risk with the opportunity for public comment. Since that time, we do what we call pre-design investigation. We did that from 2021 to 2024, and that's used to really figure out where exactly the contamination is and what we need to do to support the design effort, what we need to know to support the design effort. So we identified during that three cleanup areas. One is what we call the source area, and that's basically the area that's a little bigger than the footprint of the former buildings. The other is extending the permeable reactive barrier, which is it's basically those here, I'm just going to go over it. Basically, all of this right here is the former and the PRB, and this here is also the extension. This here is a soil cover that's in the back of these properties over there. And again, up there's the source area that we're addressing. So there's also, while I was over there, there's something that we call the mid-plume treatment wall, which is right there. That's actually not going to be part of this particular action. It's still in the design phase, and we expect to be doing that about this time next year, ideally. What that is it's basically another one of those what we're calling a PRB, a permeable reactive barrier that will be installed basically along North Ave. And then we also implement these things we call institutional controls, which can be anything from deed notices, deed restrictions, working with the city on an ordinance and usually that involves, if it comes to that, like either restrictions or encouragement to only put private wells in certain areas where there's contamination, either restrictions preventing that or some kind of process where it's only done in consultation with EPA and Mass DEP. While I'm at that, I actually, this was set up, I'm the project manager and an engineer, so I would like to introduce people to Aaron Shaheen.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Shaheen. I work on the site team.
Why don't you come up to the podium, Aaron?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I worked for a town, so I forgot my going to the mic every time you speak. But I'm the community involvement coordinator for the site, so I work for EPA on the site team with Rich. My role is basically to set up opportunities like this and also to make sure that the community is aware of what's going on with the site.
Yeah, and the reason I also thought of that is because I feel like that's Dave Buckley is the Mass DEP representative. So anyhow, so we'll move to the next slide. So in the source area cleanup, basically this is the work that we're basically initiating right now. So we're going to remove about 4,000 yards of contaminated soil. We're going to backfill.
Rich, is that cubic yards or 4,000 yards? And what's the difference?
4,000. Okay, so I said yards. That's kind of common vernacular. It's cubic yards. Sorry. Yeah.
And how does that relate to a regular yard, just for those watching?
Oh, 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. So to give you a sort of a sense of scale, it's probably about the volume of this podium, or maybe even your desk, probably closer to that. Yeah. So it's quite a bit of material.
Yep.
And so we're going to backfill with, again, a reagent. The reagent is basically iron. So what that does is it transforms the hexavalent chromium to harmless trivalent chromium. So we're going to be treating the deeper soil under the 4,000 yards with basically iron. And then there's an area over by the wetlands that we're going to inject basically a pure iron in just to not be so intrusive that close to the wetlands, just to help protect the wetlands, but while we're still addressing the contamination that's right there. And then, of course, there's restoration, includes paving and seeding and so forth. So we're basically starting this work like this week. So if you drive by there now, you'll see activity ramping up. And we expect the source area work to basically go right through the end of the calendar year. And I also want to just add that we've been in very regular contact with the mayor's office, the fire chief, the police chief, conservation, the wastewater treatment. So we've been, working with a lot of city officials, but this is just our opportunity to, make sure that the representatives of the city, you guys, are apprised of what's going on.
If you don't mind, we have a question from Councilor LeBoy.
Thank you, President Delicio, and thank you guys for coming out today. So I'm just looking at the plan here. It looks like there's a frac tank kind of along the parking lot of Hayward Field. Is that something that will impede, recreation at the
So
fields,
that's
or-
a good question. So because of the drought situation, our particular work requires a lot of water. So we couldn't we couldn't use the municipal water because of limited quantity, and we don't want to get in the way of that. So we have what we call frac tanks, some storage tanks, and we're going to put 3 over in the parking lot of Hayward Field, way in the back corner, and we're going to put another couple on an adjacent commercial property. It's operated by the Walsh, one of the Walsh families. It's the Walshes that are behind the property, not the ones on the corner. And we're going to actually get our water from the wastewater treatment plant effluent and then transport it over there. And I basically think that's like a fantastic level of like cooperation and coordination between the city and EPA. But we're in regular communication with the recreation director, Christy, I think is her name, to make sure, to answer your question, that this in no way impacts the activities that are going on over there, and safety is our absolute highest concern. I mean, yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to be there, and the fact that it's not just any parking lot, it's a Little League field and the pool and all of that. So, all the contractors will be, there'll be safety protocols to make sure there's zero issue, that the schedule of deliveries and the trucks going in and out of there is limited based on our interaction with the recreation director. So that's a good question, and yeah, it's something that we're, keeping a close eye on and coordinating with the city.
Thank you.
So the PRB extension cleanup, so that's, again, putting in this underground trench in backfilling it with this zero-valent iron, which converts the toxic hexavalent chromium, which, right now it's going through in the groundwater, and it's actually coming up into Bliss Brook, the brook that's back there. So that's what we're trying to address, what we're trying to tackle. And, I'm just going to go back. You can see that it's basically in someone's backyard. So, and there's the power lines that are going, high voltage lines going right through the yard. So there's some challenges associated. There's the housing authority is right there. And we're trying to make sure that all the people in the neighborhood are well apprised of what's going on. It's going to be secured with fence. They just put in the fence today. I saw them doing that. And they're going to put a road right into the back of that property. So it's, it's a densely populated area, and we want to just safety paramount. So the PRB extension cleanup timeline, again, starting now, actually by July, really even mid-June, The serious heavy construction should be finished, but we'll be, still tightening things up going right through till September. And the reason we need to like sort of get in and out of there is that the National Grid is going to de-energize the power lines that are going through there, because we're going to have excavators and things in there, but they need the power turned back on in those lines by June 15th. So we need to, get out quickly. And thankfully, that's also going to be, before a lot of there's certain activities that we were concerned that would be going on in the summer over at Hayward Field, but we should be out, before then. Like someone, with the city mentioned the big fireworks thing going on, and that could have been problematic, or we would have obviously worked our way around whatever it is, but luckily we'll be out of there in like a heavy, like the water tanks and all that are back there. That should be all removed by that point. So to me, one of the, the things that I always consider, like, is what, if I'm the people, what is the thing that's going to concern me the most? It's trucking. So we have here, you can see there's like, we have truck routes mapped out for all the contractors. And there's going to be like road signage, like, construction up ahead and that kind of thing coming in both ways. And importantly, there's, we have rules on the project that there's no staging of trucks on North Ave. I mean, I've been coming around here enough to see all the kids running up and down, they saw it today, like piles of them, running up and down the street. There's foot traffic, busy road. So we don't want to impede that in any way. So all the dump trucks that are coming in and offloading or waiting to get into the site, strict rule of no staging on North Ave. And so I basically encourage, if people or your constituents see something like that happening, call us and we will address that. So to prevent that, we are going to send trucks down Walton Street, where they're going to turn around at the end and come back up, and we put a back gate for the trucks to come in through the property off Walton Ave, and then they will likely exit directly onto North Ave. Using flaggers, not on the road, but, someone at the entrance and the exit, to basically, in with radios, like, okay, come, this and that and the other, be careful, that sort of thing. So, idling will be, is not something that, we're going to, needs to be minimized. Oh, and just for what it's worth, we've been contacting all the commercial property owners on Walton Street so they realize that this is going to be happening. And we were talking about this earlier, because of the drought considerations and our heavy need for a lot of like high volume of water. We, figured out a way to have an alternative source through the city, and, made arrangements to store them on either side of the street, because we'll be doing work on both sides of the street. What to expect during the cleanup? Basically a daily site presence starting right now. Heavy machinery in the work areas. We're doing vibration, noise, and dust monitoring, and also for contamination that could mobilize, which, by the way, we look at as this is a very precautionary set of practices that we're doing here. But needless to say, we do them, and if something triggers it, work either, depending on how high it is or whatever, either, hey, we got to keep an eye on that, or stop working and address it, but, and there's all sorts of ways that these things get communicated to us, immediately. And this kind of monitoring is going to be going on every day. I'd like to point out that, it's possible that you see workers in those Tyvek, the white suits. And the only reason I mention that is because it sometimes causes alarm when people see that, but it's not because of any safety issue that the workers, or therefore anybody else, would be facing. They're going to be dealing with some very messy stuff. They're going to be using these slurries and things like that. And frankly, it would just be to stay clean. So, but in case your constituents call you, like, oh my goodness, what's going on over there? I see them in those moon suits, and it's just so they're not filthy when they go home, basically.
Rich, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Actually, a couple of them real quick. When you're talking about the cleanup, when you're talking about this whole project, will there be blasting of any sort?
There shouldn't be blasting, but there's going to be, it's going to be noisy, and there's going to be, I mean, they're doing excavations,
Yep.
and it could be bouldery and this and that and the other, and so they will have equipment that could hammer on, so no blasting, but it could certainly be some noisy work for brief periods of time, let alone just for the people that are very local, like the housing authority and the people that live like right there. Just tailgates and dump trucks can be, there's going to be, it's not going to be quiet, frankly, if you're over there.
But as long as it's not blasting.
No.
We've seen projects throughout the years where blasting has led to foundation damage. And the other is, what is the communication to the neighbors?
So, first of all, just as far as that goes, we've even done pre-construction surveys of houses that are close in, including looking at the foundations. Obviously the residents that were going to be in their yard, I mean, we have access, there's that kind of dialogue. We've been, reaching out to the housing authority. Talked to them some time ago, but we wanted to touch base again, like right now, because the work is ramping up right now. So we've left a few voicemails and emails and such, but we're still, we intend to, we actually stopped by the housing authority. It's called Brookside, that's over there, just today to see if there was like an office or something that like we could walk in and like, hey, by the way, it's, just so you know. So, and we've been in communication with most of the residents on Paulette, the Walsh on the corner, Walsh behind it. So, and they've been seeing me walk around now for some time, so they will walk out and ask, what's going on? Yeah, please, go ahead.
So, along with all that, we've sent out a massive mailing around the area, all along the trucking route. It was like 933 households receive a mailing that has that fact sheet that I gave you. So that has gone out. Like Rich said, I called every single commercial property I could find a number for on Walton Street to let them know, sent them the fact sheet information, gave them my number in case you have any questions or, see any issues they want to talk about. We're also working with Kaylin from the city, using the city's social media. So we have a post that we're developing for that as well. And EPA is also, we're going to do a press release and we're going to share that with, the Sun Chronicle and other state and local papers to make sure people are aware of what's happening. So that kind of encompasses the outreach that we've been doing to make sure that people are aware of the project, and if they see something that they would like to, as an issue, or just want to talk in general, they have our contact information and they can reach out anytime. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe Aaron even called Bishop Fian High School just so they'd know, because of the kids that are going to and from school or on the track teams and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, we take community outreach very importantly. Not that we're clearly open to ideas of other opportunities for community outreach that anybody might have. So, as far as trying to, like minimizing impact in the community, there'll be dust suppression, water misting. Trucks will be using wheel wash and be inspected when exiting roadways. And we encourage, if people see impact on the roads from the trucks, again, please call us. You have Aaron's number's on there, my number's on there. So, we would like to know about those things because, we're not here all the time. I'll, be here quite a lot, but not, around the clock every day. So we welcome that kind of, heads up. And again, as far as monitoring goes, I said there's going to be air monitoring stations to measure dust and volatile organic compounds, and noise monitoring. They'll be doing baseline noise monitoring at the beginning of each construction phase, along with vibration, and then that kind of tails off unless someone has a complaint, and then we go check again and see what's going on. And, and again, just out of respect for, there's the people that live over in the back of those houses. I mean, they've voiced concerns about loud noises and as it relates to their health. So we're doing everything we can to, it's a construction project, there's going to be noise, but, we're trying to be as respectful as we can. So, let's see. I guess that's kind of it for the presentation.
Vice President Dolan?
I have a couple.
And Council Holmes and Council Waterman.
So you mentioned 10 to 20 truck trips.
Yeah.
Is that per day?
Per day,
And is that 7 days a week or 5 days a week? Are you guys
5.
this 7?
Fi-
Okay.
5 days a week. There's like Monday through Friday, only during working hours, like was it 7 to 5 or what, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's certainly 5 days a week. It would be due to some kind of urgent situation that we would be like, okay, you can work Saturdays. They can't unless I give them like the okay to do so. And if I gave them the okay to do so, it would be because of extenuating circumstances, and I would very much be reaching out to the city to make sure it's all done in a way that's as respectful and minimizing impact as possible.
And do the residents need to vacate at all during
No.
this?
No,
During this at all?
No.
Okay. And what about, you said about National Grid and the power. Will the residents be losing their power?
no. This is not the power lines that run along the street. This is one of those ones that brings power like to a different, when they weren't even sure when we were going to be doing this, they were talking about the height of summer, and then oddly, they said they also, it couldn't be when Patriots games were. So it tells me that that's somehow going to Foxborough or something, but at least that was my read on it. But in other words, that power is, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly where it's going, but it has nothing to do with
Okay.
the residents.
And when you're done, how often and who does testing after that?
So,
Everything's been remediated?
yeah, so that's going to be ongoing for years, and it's going to be some combination of, depending on when and how far down the road and what the data looks like, EPA and Mass DEP.
And one last one, you had said something in the beginning regarding deed restrictions. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, like for example, there's the houses that have the soil covers in them. There's going to be deed notices that, so a person couldn't, because there's contamination under this, to prevent contamination from coming up. It's so that nobody does anything to those, to the area of those yards where those caps are, that could result in someone getting exposed to the contamination underneath. And also to make sure that anybody who's going to buy the house in the future would be aware of this situation.
Does that include the surrounding area? So like if someone was to buy one of the houses and, where you have the contaminated soil with the cap on it, does that include surrounding areas, like people can't have gardens, they can't?
No, there's no, it's all
gardens,
about just not doing intrusive activities right where the cap is, and it's usually like a foot down. And so, but this is all spelled out very clearly in documents that we're frankly still working on, but there is expected to be in those areas a prohibition against what we call deep-rooted vegetation, but, not, a garden or whatever have you.
All right, thank you.
Council Holmes?
Thank you. Yeah, it sounded like you said for, if they wanted to do a personal well or something, if they wanted to dig way deep down, that you would kind of.
Depending on where it is, like, if we would discourage that and probably work with the city for ways to discourage that.
My question actually has to do with the reuse of the land. So what would that process look like, and what could go in there after this is completed?
So the properties where that PRB is, that's people's houses, so that's, the use is going to stay as is. The actual site property, we're working on that right now with, working through like interested parties that, could take ownership of it, and there will be deed restrictions there, so that it's a very complicated thing, but they wouldn't be able to, any owner would be limited in what they could do on that property. But that's not to say that, it's going to be paved and there's things that a person can do with a paved lot over there, and so we're talking to some parties that could be interested.
Councilor Waterman.
Well, reuse of the land was going to be my question. What do you see, say, 5 years from now with this land?
So,
In the context of reuse as well.
well, I mean, we're working through a lot of these things now, but it could either stay in this paved form. There's things that a person could do outside of that, but it could only be done with approvals from EPA and DEP, with approved work plans that would make sure it's all done safely for the community and for whoever is doing the work there and so forth. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. Thank you.
Okay, because I would be happy to try to elaborate and do a better job of it. Could you picture a slab-on-grade building? I mean, there's things that one can do. I mean, one could. Most of the prohibitions there's like kind of caveats, like you can't do this unless it's approved by Mass DEP and EP. I don't like to get into too many permutations of what that could look like, but it's not like you can't do anything. And frankly, if there's a party that can just use a paved lot over there, and there are construction companies over there that could just use it as lay-down areas and things like that, they could just use it just like it is.
So I guess what I was driving at in my mind was, is this land ever going to be livable on?
The deed restriction is certainly not it's gonna say there's no residential use allowed.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Corbus.
Thank you, President Delicio, and I think Vice President Dolan asked my question, but I'll ask it a little bit more, and it was towards the long-term monitoring, and I think you answered that it'll be Mass DEP and the EPA that'll be responsible for the long-term monitoring to verify the effectiveness of injecting the iron in, and I saw that there will be monitoring wells being built. That's the plan for
Exactly, we already have a whole lot of monitoring wells over there, but there's more are being installed. For example, you have the PRB trench. We're going to make sure that there's wells on either side so we can see what's going in, what's coming out, and that's going to be going on for, the foreseeable future. Let's put it that way.
Okay, it'll be Mass DEP and the EPA responsible for that for the long term to verify that this is actually effective.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a process in the Superfund program where when we say there's like waste left in place, which is there, it's being under this cap or it's coming through in the groundwater, that there's a process that's by statute, it's called a 5-year review. Every 5 years, EPA is required to review the site, the remedy, which we call all these things the remedy, and that includes looking at all the data. If there's not enough data to figure this out, then you have to go get more data to make the determination whether or not it's effective.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that keeps going on until, I guess until it's not needed. And that will be, frankly, probably pretty far down the road, I would, in the order of, I hate to speculate on that kind of stuff, but it'll be going on for a while. But we're not walking away from this by any stretch.
Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio. Hey, thanks, Rich. I don't know if I heard correctly, but we were talking about with some deed restrictions and possible restrictions of landowners. Are we talking about households that might be affected in an area that they can only do certain things, and if they were to sell their property, or are you talking about businesses?
It's the ones there's a couple of residential properties right there, and we've already been having discussions with them. Like they know about this.
Yeah. So is there any federal assistance possibly? Because say if they bought this house not knowing any of this, and then now all of a sudden they have some of these issues now that might lessen their value of their properties.
So that's not done as a matter of, as a matter of course, but we're trying to figure out if that's something that we can do. So I don't want to answer that
Yeah, you don't have to
definitively, because I don't make these decisions on my own, but let's just say that we're looking into that.
All right. If you could also, if I could, thank you, President Lucio. Like, if you do come up with something or you get some information, if that could be shared with the council and with, then we can at least, help these people that, might end up losing money if they want to retire on some property or whatever it might be.
I couldn't agree more. Yep.
And then my last question was, the idling of the vehicles. I know you're starting at 7 to 5, and I saw a thing in the paper, in the inserts, it said, not idling before 6 o'clock, but is there going to be a lot of idling at 6 a.m., you think, or is it really they're going to come in at 7 and really get going?
A detail like that I'm going to have to get back to you on, but there should be no trucks idling on North Ave, because there should be no trucks staged on North Ave. So to the extent anybody would be idling, it would be down Walton Street. And we have rules about, we're not going to, someone's not going to be able to sit there all night in their truck with it running, but I don't want to speak to specifics in these work plans. We actually have the number of work plans, you'd be amazed, that we had to develop to get to this point. And one of them is the traffic control plan, which we did provide to the mayor's office, the police department, the fire department. So the city has actually reviewed many of these documents. But I don't want to speak to where were you getting you said 6 a.m. or?
Yeah, there was a thing that, there was one of the papers in here that said it wouldn't be idling before, trucks shall not idle more than 5 minutes and shall not park in designated areas prior to 6 a.m.
Okay, well, we'll check on that. I mean,
Yeah,
if it's in there, then that's what the work plan would allow. But, so I guess, as long as they're not idling and they're not on North Ave, if they're parked down on Walton Street.
Yeah, Walton Street probably wouldn't be bad.
Right.
No houses up.
Yeah, so,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I would love to hear more about this as it goes on, and maybe we can work on having you come back, give us an update, maybe the end of summer, beginning of fall, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd love the opportunity to do so.
Great. Great. It's a very important project. I think, Council Reynolds, you and I were on the council when we first started talking about it.
I went some time ago, yeah.
So, all right.
Still at it.
Madam Assistant Clerk, if you wouldn't mind reading the notification for the first public hearing, please.
Sure. Public hearing for a new Class 2 license application from New England Cars Incorporated at 925 and 931 Washington Street with 8 customer parking spaces.
Gentlemen, excuse me, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay. Do we have anyone to speak in favor? You can make your way to the podium and just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Rodi Mukaiber. My address is 925 Washington Street in Attleboro.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so New England Cars has been operating since 2019 in the city of Attleboro. What we're basically doing right now, we're just extending the dealership. It's 2 lots right next to where we are right now. And we're located right now at 923 Washington Street. It's gonna be 925 and 931. Those 2 lots were previously a dealership and used to be Best Buy Automotive. It's closed. And we're trying to make a change to the name, New England Cars.
Do we have any questions? No questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak against? Do we have anyone to speak neither for nor against? Seeing none, Councilor Lavoy, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
I declare that public hearing closed, and Assistant Madam Clerk, if you could read the notice for the second.
In accordance with Section 2-11.2 of the city ordinances, to declare the 95 Pine Street Richardson School property, further identified by the Chief Assessor as Map 39, Lot 284, as available for disposition.
Do we have anyone to speak in favor?
Yes, 3 of us. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm here to speak very generally about why I sent the request down to the council at this particular moment, although I think it's fairly obvious that
Even
our...
though we know who you are, if you don't mind.
Oh,
just
forgive me,
for the
forgive me.
Thank you.
Presumptuous of me. Kathleen D. Simone, Attleboro Mayor. Where was I? Yes, the housing crisis not only lingers, it worsens, so the time is right. This has been a long time coming with the 95 Pine Street property, so I appreciate your consideration of my request. And to elaborate further on the details of what we intend to do and why it's so important, I've asked Gary and Emily to join me here, but I'll be sitting here if you have any questions for me.
Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. For the record, my name is Gary Arazian. I'm the city's Director of Planning and Development. And what I envision there is what we did back from the early 2000s. If you recall, the old Bliss School on Park Street. That was decommissioned by the school department probably late 70s, mid-70s, maybe earlier than that. That sat there for years with deterioration. Broken windows, the roof was caved in. I'll never forget one of the first times I walked in there, and it's all spongy. I'm like, what's all this sponginess from? And we were there with a group of people, and the then building inspector just whispered in my ear, Gary, those are all bird droppings. It was disgusting. And now we've seen what happened. We got a developer from New Hampshire, took a look at the building. They did knock down a portion of the building, the old Bliss School again, but something that I often, from Mr. Thoreau, the philosopher, it's not what you're looking at that matters, it's what you see. I always go by that paradigm, that postulate. And we looked at that building, we were looking at an old broken down, corroded, substandard burden building. We were looking at what it could be. Ultimately, a portion of the building was knocked down. They saved the rear end. I think they put 10 units in the back piece. I'm going to circle to Pine Street. I'm just walking you some background. And they built a new section. They put in 31 units. Phenomenal building. And that's what I see happening on Pine Street. The building, the land area is about 1.1 acres. The building itself has probably here less than an acre of area. The building footprint, it's 2 floors. It's in great condition. If you've never been in there, especially the attic, it's absolutely gorgeous for additional units. I'm not sure how many units we would get, probably in the order of maybe 40, 45. It's within a half mile of the train station. Being a gateway city, we'd be eligible for some streetscape improvements. I think this aligns with the housing needs assessment that we recently completed. And I also think if I check with the assessor, it has an assessed value, land and building, of about $1.9 million. And I foresee doing a housing project at 95 Richardson School, much like Bliss. Of course, the question could be, are we going to just do adaptive reuse? Or, Gary, what about a knock down and build new? I don't know. I'd prefer to keep the building. It's a beautiful building. The facade, the brick, mimics the recreation center, the Fred Bartek Center, so that's a plus, but I don't know right now. Ultimately, we would always go with the best possible option. So for all these reasons, I'd like to pursue it. Again, this has been discussed about several times with even previous administrations, what we want to do with that building, but I think the time is here, and I'd like to see some housing go into that building.
Very good, thank you. Do we have any questions? Council Kobus, then Council Sawyer.
Just from a timing perspective, we also have the request for the $80,000 for the study for the hospital area. Are there any timing considerations there with regards to this sale? Like, would that play into considerations?
So a couple of thoughts. First of all, we're not looking at 80,000. That 80,000 consists of 3 pieces.
Sure,
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
This building, the Pine Street, we included in the hospital district. So that would be part of the study that we would get from the consultant, either independent of or mutually as we pursue this with the administration. So there is overlap in that regard.
And is there any consideration with regards to these 2 items? Do they interplay with each other?
Yeah, very much so. We're looking to do housing in this general area, not necessarily all a market rate. That's going to be part of it too, but we're also looking to do low to moderate income housing as well. So housing is kind of the theme of the hospital district, at least one of the themes of the hospital study that we're doing.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question. Maybe I misunderstood your question. I'm sorry. I thought you said there's
question was more,
commonality.
is there a reason to delay in this, to wait for the results of that study?
No. I would say no, there isn't any delay. I respectfully ask if you could give us the permission to move forward, and we would make sure how this project, as the administration moves forward with this specific site, how that aligns with the overall study. So I don't think we should delay it.
Okay.
Council Sawyer.
Hi.
Hi.
You answered my question partly. I was asking about would it be low income, mid-income, or market rate housing that you'd be putting in there?
So all along, I've been advocating to the mayor to have it low to moderate income housing. We need that. There's a high need for that. And again, when I say affordable, I don't mean because you can afford it, it's affordable. I mean by some standard, whether it's a state standard or a federal standard, that we abide by those.
Vice President Dolan, then Councilor Lavoy.
So you said you would advocate, so would that be a demand of anybody that buys this building, or would you just advocate for low to moderate?
Sure. So we have to float an RFP to solicit proposals, and I would advocate to the mayor and encourage her that we do housing, and that it'd be low to moderate income housing. So that would be in the RFP.
Let me just say, yeah, I'm committed to it. I propose that in the communication. It is going to be low income and affordable housing. As to whether or not the facade stands, my brother and I differ a little bit in that regard, but if that's the case, so be it. If not, I just think that it's time for the building to be put to a more suitable and necessary use at the moment. It does dovetail with the hospital improvement plan in Council Clovis, although that was unintentional. This project started in 2023 when I went over with Dorothy to start talking to the residents, and then the hospital plan came after, but it fits together nicely because part of that program is to have more foot traffic downtown and more residents, so it works together well. But I would respectfully ask that you not hold off on disposing of this. The last thing we want to do, sir, is continue to light and heat an empty building. It's not cost effective, so. But so, Councilor Dolan, we're committed to low income and affordable family housing.
Councilor
Thank you.
Lavoy.
Thank you, President Delicio. As always, Gary, thank you very much. How does this impact one of the potential sites for the joint public safety complex? If I remember right, this kind of was a part of that. I could be mistaken, but I thought the map, when I looked at the plans, like zigzagged into that way. So does that just rule this?
I'm in no position to comment on that right now. It definitely was part of the, go ahead, Mayor. Yeah,
Yes,
so I don't wanna-
that is off the table. That was ruled out, as you may recall. It would involve a couple of things, possibly takings, which we don't want to do, but also, very likely, the destruction, if you will, of the Bartek Center, which I don't think anybody's in support of. And even at that, Counselor, it would be cramped. So although that was identified, I don't think it's the ideal location. So I don't intend, while I am going to proceed, if you want to talk offline about another location that we are proposing for that joint public safety complex, I think you're aware of that. But that's the spot that I'm rooting for. So.
Thank you, and I agree with the cramped mindset.
Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. What is the parking situation over there like if we were to keep the facade of the building in the current structure?
If we're keeping the what?
Parking.
I think you said the facade?
If we were to keep the facade.
Yes.
And the pavement that's there currently, what is the parking situation like?
Well, we'd have to evaluate the number of proposed units and just to see what the parking ratio would be for what the number of parking spaces that would be needed. If we do residential, there are front yard setback requirements where you can't have parking within, I think, 15 feet of the front yard. That's in the GRA zoning district. So I don't want to speculate, so then all I could tell you is that the number of off-street parking requirement would be a function of the number of units that are being proposed.
All right, thank you.
Additional questions for the city planner? Okay, Gary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak against? Do we have anyone to speak neither for nor against? Seeing none, Council Reynolds, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
Therefore, I declare this public hearing closed. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to enter into committee of the whole.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We're now in committee of the whole. If anyone has any business they wish to bring in front of the municipal council, please approach the podium and have yourself heard. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to arise from committee of the whole.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We have arisen from committee of the whole, and we'll now go into a reading of the mayor's communication.
Dear Municipal Council, as some of you may recall, in early 2020, the Municipal Council approved a home rule petition asking the state legislature for permission to create a mobile home park rent control board. The petition was well supported by Attleboro's mobile home park residents, but was not approved by the legislature and expired. Attleboro has 7 manufactured housing communities and approximately 660 mobile or manufactured homes, many of which are occupied by seniors living on fixed incomes and low-income individuals and families. Since early 2020, our housing crisis has worsened, and rents at manufactured housing communities across the state have risen significantly. As more of these communities have been purchased by private investment firms and real estate management companies seeking easy revenue opportunities. For these reasons and more, it is imperative that we not forget our manufactured home park residents. Understanding that Representative Hawkins has recently refiled a statewide bill to allow for the regulation of rent increases in manufactured housing communities across the Commonwealth. 5 years have passed since the first home rule petition, and I think the time has come for the city to file a new home rule petition on behalf of our manufactured home park residents. I have been in contact with Mr. Hawkins and his staff, and they are in accord with this approach. Accordingly, I respectfully ask that your honorable body approve the attached home rule petition calling for the establishment of a board to oversee use and occupancy payments for manufactured housing community accommodations in the city of Attleboro. This petition has been reviewed by the city solicitor and approved as to form, supporting documents provided.
Ordinances, legislative, elections and legislative matters, please. This one you may waive the reading. It's an FYI for all councilors.
Number 3, I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Catherine Rautenstraut, currently an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, to fill an unexpired term as a full member on the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire February 2027.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body for the appointment of Robert Mangiarati, 50 Oxbow Drive, to fill an unexpired term on the Zoning Board of Appeals as an associate member, term to expire February 2027, supporting documents provided.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from City Auditor Deborah Gould regarding fiscal year 2024 net school spending surplus. The school department had $1,383,765.37 in unspent fiscal year 2024 funds above the requirement. Of that, $6,743.76 was not net school spending, NSS related. Therefore, a fiscal year 2024 NSS surplus of $1,377,021.61 contributed to the July 1st, 2024 General Fund free cash certification. It is my intention to appropriate the unspent fiscal year 2024 NSS funds to the school department for fiscal year 2025 in accordance with past practices of the city. After discussion with Attleboro Public School Finance Director Mark Furtado, the school department requested the funds be appropriated into the funds below. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $1,377,021.61 from account 1000-359-000, General Fund Balance Undesignated, as follows. $600,000 to Blue Cross Blue Shield HMO, $600,000 to Maintenance Building Supplies, $177,000, $100,000 and $21.61 to Attleboro High School professional teacher salaries. Supporting documents provided.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry Derek Corsi regarding the need for funds into various accounts to be used to make necessary repairs and purchase supplies for the remainder of the fiscal year. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $18,500 from account Park and Forestry salary and wages to the following. $2,500 to account Park and Forestry repair of irrigation. $2,000 to account Park and Forestry maintenance of equipment. $1,600 to Park and Forestry labor details. $3,400 to Park and Forestry professional services. $3,000 to Park and Forestry supplies grounds. $3,000 to Park and Forestry supplies vehicles. $3,000 to account Park and Forestry supplies and equipment. Supporting documents provided.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry Derek Corsi regarding the need for funds to pay heating invoices for the animal shelter for the remainder of fiscal year 25. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $3,500 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Animal Control Heating.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry Derek Corsi regarding the need to replenish funds in lights and power used to replace the failed draft inducer motor and thermostat on the HVAC system at the animal shelter. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $2,204 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Animal Shelter Lights and Power. Supporting documents provided.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry Derek Corsi regarding the donation of 10 one-gallon native trees from Keep Attleboro Beautiful. These trees will be planted in both Highland Park and the Balfour River Walk as part of the City Arbors Day celebration on Saturday, April 26, 2025. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro.
I'm going to make a change. It's going to go to City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Public Works Michael Tyler regarding the need for funds to make necessary repairs at 101 Lamb Street for additional police details for the remainder of the fiscal year. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $35,000 from account Public Works salary and wages to the following. $25,611.26 to Public Works professional services. $4,388.74 to account Public Works HVAC services. $5,000 to account Public Work police details. Supporting documents provided.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Attleboro Public Schools Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, regarding the following fiscal year 24 fiscal obligations that were not received in time to be processed in the normal fiscal year 24 business cycle. H&L Bloom, $1,095. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to authorize the school department to pay this previous year's school bill totaling $1,095 as identified in Mr. Furtado's communication.
Finance Committee, please.
I have received a communication from the Attleboro Retirement Board concerning a unanimous affirmative vote taken at their February 24th, 2025 meeting to increase board members' stipends from $3,000 to $4,500 per year, and the request that your honorable body vote to accept same. Per Chapter 32, Section 26 of the Massachusetts General Laws, this is the maximum allowable stipend for the retirement board members. Further, in accordance with this law, board members can only receive this increased stipend upon the municipal council acceptance of the board's vote.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a 3.8+ acre land donation from the estate of Carla Schoen Woodworth. This land, shown as Lot 3 on map plan plan of land entitled Division of Property Approval Not Required Form A Plan of Land in Attleboro, abuts the conservation land adjacent to Luther's Pond Reservoir and is donated with the stipulation that it is to be used for conservation purposes only and is never to be built upon. Therefore, I respectfully request that your honorable body accept this device of land from the estate of Carla Schoen Woodworth.
City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Human Resources Director Lynn Davin regarding the memorandum of agreement between the City of Attleboro and the Attleboro Public Safety Dispatchers Association. The city and the Dispatchers Association were able to reach an agreement for an additional 3-year contract from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. Year 1 of the contract includes a 2% cost of living adjustment, COLA, and years 2 and 3 include a 1.5% COLA. In addition, the Patriots' Day, Columbus Day, President's Day, and Memorial Day holidays were added to the list of holidays. Also included was a stipend increase. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body approve memorandum of agreement between the City of Attleboro and the Attleboro Public Safety's Dispatcher Association.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit your honorable body the City Capital's Improvement Program for fiscal year 2026 to 2030, assembled by the Department of Planning and Development. We look forward to working with the Municipal Council in the coming weeks to review the information as submitted. Furthermore, I hereby request your honorable body hold a public hearing at the appropriate time.
Thank you. That'll go to the Finance Committee, please. And Councilor Cobus, would you like to call for a public hearing on May 6th?
Yes, please.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
In an ongoing effort to increase and diversify the style, sizes, and affordability of our housing stock in a sustainable manner, and in relation to the housing needs assessment completed last fall, I have been working with the Director of Planning and Development, Gary Aresian, to explore a wide variety of potential changes to our zoning ordinances and permitting processes that would help us accomplish these and other important objectives. Indeed, in the absence of meaningful changes to our zoning ordinances, we would be challenged to make any real progress in addressing our current housing crisis. Because of the nature and complexities of the work involved with a comprehensive review of our current zoning ordinances, engaging the services of a professional planning consultant is the best way to ensure maximum results in a timely and cost-effective manner. Accordingly, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $10,000 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Planning Zoning Consultant.
Zoning, Land Use, and Sustainability Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Tanya Oliveira, 625 Pleasant Street, to fill an unexpired term on the Council on Human Rights, term to expire February 2026.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please. And then we'll go into a reading of the clerk's communication.
Sure.
Oh, this week, the assistant clerk's
The
communication.
assistant clerk. We have received a special permit application from Sturdy Health of Park Street for a temporary helicopter landing pad to be located on an existing parking lot adjacent to the hospital campus while the permanent landing pad is under construction.
Thank you. That'll go to Public Works, please. And Vice President Dolan, would you like to call for a public hearing on April 15th?
Yes, please.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Madam Clerk, thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you.
Where we are operating under suspended rules, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the records of February 18th, 2025, and March 4th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll now go into committee reports, and we will start with Councilor Cobus.
Thank you. Reporting to the Finance Committee from the docket of March 18th, 2025. I move to appropriate $25,000 from undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to treasurer Medicare tax to cover anticipated expenses for the remainder of fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
This happens every year due to changes in salaries and union negotiations.
Additional questions, comments,
Negotiations.
concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Counsel Cobus.
All right, Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Ms. Foa,
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Ms. Waterman. Mr.
Yes.
Waterman. Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
All right, 11 yeas.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of March 18th, 2025, I move to appropriate $51,000 from account wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings to account wastewater enterprise fund workers' compensation indemnity.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
This is a workers' comp, and it's a result of us being self-funded for workers' compensation.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas.
0 nays, motion passes. Thank you.
And finally, from the docket of March 4th, 2025, I entertain a motion to take the following actions for the hospital district plan and corridor study for the area surrounding Sturdy Memorial Hospital, east side of downtown Attleboro. 1. Accept $50,000 worth of technical services to be provided to the city by the consultant selected by Mass Development pursuant to Section 1-12, gifts to the City of Attleboro of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as amended. 2. Accept $20,000 donation of Sturdy Health to be used for the purposes of this study pursuant to Section 1-12, gifts to the City of Attleboro of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as amended. And 3, transfer $10,000 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Citywide Other Financial Uses, and further transfer $10,000 from account Citywide Other Financial Uses to fund Sturdy Health District donation other financial services.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
And so there's a few moving parts, but overall, this is to spend $80,000 on the study for the for the East Side District, the hospital district. The city is only spending $10,000 of our own money. We're receiving $50,000 in grant money, and then Sturdy is spending $20,000. So I encourage us to do this. We're getting a lot for only spending $10,000 of taxpayer money.
Councilor
Those are my
Foley.
comments.
And I have a question, if I may, in subsection 3. Looks like we're spending $20,000, 10,000 plus 10,000.
We are.
No.
It's just how we're transferring the money and then transferring it again
I
to a different account.
understand that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Additional questions, comments,
If I
concerns?
could, through the president,
You
excuse me.
may, yes. Well, no, that's fine. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business for the Finance Committee. I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Very good, thank you. Councilor Foley.
The IT and Infrastructure Committee has no business this evening. I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Very good, Councilor LeBoy.
The License Committee also has no business this evening, and I too would call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. And Councilor Reynolds.
Reporting for City Property and Claims Committee from the docket of March 18th, 2025. I move to approve the expenditure of and any further grant amendments regarding 2 fiscal year 25 state legislative earmarks. $40,000 in earmark funds for the purpose of downtown beautification and $40,000 in earmark funds for the purpose of certain improvements to our city parks.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any comments?
I have none.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0, oh, President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of March 18th, 2025, I entertain a motion to accept the generous donation to the City Veterans Office of $250 in gift cards to Stop and Shop from Rosemary Burrows.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Again, I just want to thank Rosemary. She's been up here a lot lately donating.
Absolutely.
Muchly appreciated.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all the business City Property and Claims Committee has this evening, but I would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Very good, thank you. Vice President Dolan.
Thank you. Reporting for Public Works Committee from the docket of March 18th, 2025. I move to appropriate $83,000 from account Wastewater Enterprise Fund retained earnings as follows: $60,000 to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund overtime, $13,000 to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund overtime callback dig safe markings, $7,500 to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund callback overtime, $2,500 to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund main block overtime.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
No, we discussed in committee.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of March 18, 2025, I move to transfer $5,901 from account Public Works Salary and Wages to account Public Works Professional Services for funds associated with the cleanup of the DPW building's recent minor flooding.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
No, we discussed in committee.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of March 18, 2025, I move to authorize the expenditure of $1,899,616.05 for fiscal year 2026 Chapter 90 apportionment and any future grant amendments into Fund 3108 Chapter 90 projects for the purpose of funding Chapter 90 eligible projects as approved by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I do have one comment. I failed to get the numbers from last year, and I will get them. My apologies. It was close to this, but I promise I'll get them.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? I do just want to say for the record, I am employed by MassDOT, but I have no financial interest in this matter. I believe last year was close to 1.7-ish.
It was close to this, but
Yeah.
it's been a week, so I didn't.
Totally get it. This will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February 18th, 2025, I entertain a motion to approve the following loan order. Do you want me to just read the first paragraph? Or?
Just read the first paragraph. now.
Ordered that the order of the City Council passed May 7th, 2024, authorizing $35,181,000 for the permanent PFAS facility to be located at the Wading River Plant, 250 Balcom Street, Mansfield, Massachusetts, is hereby amended to read as follows. I'll
May
just-
waive the reading.
Second.
Motion is in order. Any comments?
No, we discussed in committee and had the public hearing.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
And Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to amend sections 16-10 through 16-14 of the revised ordinances as follows.
Second.
I'll waive the reading if you can, during your comments, just give a description of what it is we're voting on.
Sure.
Thank you.
So this, as we discussed in committee, this is to come in line with our pricing on certain projects, water main extensions, new service installations, water shut-off, turn on, what else did I, service connections, new service water lines, late fees, callbacks. Does that help everybody, or do you want more details? I'd be happy
Do you
to.
have additional questions, comments on this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Cobus.
With regards to, I am going to support this one. I don't want to support the other one with the.
We're not reading the other one. Oh,
The other
excuse
one's
me.
still in committee.
Perfect. So I will support this one.
Thank you.
And I think this is very different than the other one that is still in committee.
Yeah, I know.
You may.
Yeah, this is extremely different. These are for major projects that, as I stated in committee, we have been breaking even on or actually losing money on. So, yes, I know Council Cobus was on the council at the time when we tried to do this a few years ago, and so, yes, this is very different from the other motion that you're discussing, and I think it's imperative that we do it. These people work hard, and as we know, they're an enterprise system. Thank you.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr.
Cobus.
Cobus.
Councilor
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Fawa.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
No.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
All right, so we have 10 yeas and 1 nay.
Motion passes.
That's all the business for the Public Works Committee. I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. There's no business for my committee this evening, but I'll call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio, reporting for Personnel, Veterans, Human Service Committee. From the docket of March 18, 2025, move to approve the appointment of George Bosch, 699 Tiffany Street, to fill an expired term on licensing board. Term to expire February 2031.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Discuss this in committee.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of March 18, 2025, move to approve the reappointment of Julie Hobson for 4 High Street, North Attleboro, Mass, to the position of Chief Assessor as recommended by the Board of Assessors. Term to expire February 2028.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
We did discuss in committee, but again, the city is very lucky to have someone as talented as Julie being back here for, at least till February 2028.
Very good. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of March 18, 2025, move to approve the reappointment of Carrie Gray to the Council on Human Rights to a term of 3 years, term to expire February 2028.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
No, sir.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of March 18, 2025, move to approve the resubmitted appointment of Monique Scott McGagg, 1110 Park Street, to fill an unexpired term on the Cultural Council, term to expire February 2027.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Just that it just didn't happen in time, so we're just taking care of it.
Okay. This also is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
For the docket of March 18, 2025, move to approve the expenditure of such funds and also approve any further amendments regarding the receipt of the Shine earmark for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $55,000.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
No, sir. Discuss in committee.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of March 4th, 2025, move to approve the appointment of Kendra Sawyer, Glen Eagle Circle, to fill an unexpired term on the Disability Commission, term to expire February 2027.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any comments?
No, sir, discussed in committee.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all for Personnel, Veterans, Human Services Committee. Call for meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Sawyer.
Zoning, Land Use, and Sustainability Committee has no business tonight, and we look forward to next committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Waterman.
The Transportation Traffic Committee has no business tonight. We'll meet at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Tavares.
Thank you, President Delicio. Reporting for ordinances, elections, and legislative matters from the docket of March 18, 2025. I move to hold a public hearing on April 15, 2025 to amend the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as follows. Strike section 5-7.5 in its entirety and replace with the following. Mr. President, may I waive the reading?
You may, as you read it in committee last week.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
No comments.
Okay, additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
That concludes the business of ordinances, elections, and legislative matters. We call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Tavares.
The Special Committee for Tax Abatement Review has no business this evening. We call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio. Compensation classification has no new business. We call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Councilor Foa.
The Special Committee on Rules and Procedures has no new business this evening. Call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. There's no old business. There's one piece of new business, which I'll give up the seat, if I may. Oh, thank you. To be referred for study and recommendation of proposed amendment to council rules and procedures, section 3-1.2, to begin regular and committee meetings at 6:30.
Second.
So that it goes rules and procedure. You may.
Thank you. So based on feedback from the councilors, based on how many meetings this term and even last term we're seeing start at 6:30, I figured let's at least have the discussion. I know for a lot of us who are coming in, sometimes flying right in at 6:30, this could be a challenge, but I think it bears at least having a discussion. I've received feedback from residents who are watching and like, wait a second, I thought it started at 7, why are we starting at 6:30? And a lot of the times we start at 6:30 is because of the guests that we have, whether it's department heads, whether it's people being voted into boards. So I figured at least let's get the discussion going and see where it lands.
I like it.
Oh, are we done? We're done?
No, well, no, you gotta
We have to
open it up for additional comments.
Oh, does anybody have any additional comments? Councilor Angelo?
Thank you. I love it. I think it's great. I'll fully support this. Does that mean I can bring people in at 6?
Through the chair, then Councilor Angelo, settle down. Settle down.
Does
I
anybody
think
else?
it's great.
Councilor
I
Sawyer?
agree, it's great. I like for consistency to have a certain time to come every Tuesday instead of 6 o'clock this Tuesday, 6:30, 7. So I think that's a great idea so that we can always count on it. Thank you.
Doesn't Councilor Reynolds?
I personally just like the earlier time myself, and I see that people get out of work and then you go home and then do you really want to go back out again? It's almost nice to just, if you're on the road, that you just keep moving and get here. So I think that's a plus too.
Does anybody have any additional comments or questions? So this will go to the Rules and Procedure Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Oh, I'd like to adjourn, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.